All right, we're live. Sue, how are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you.
Cool.
Being very polite.
Yeah, I
Cheers.
know. Yeah, cheers. Cheers to all the people out there on lockdown as well.
Yeah,
I'll
hope
just
they're
give a
okay.
quick intro of who you are, Sue. Sue's one of the many great DJs in Nottingham. Has been DJing for quite a few years, since before I moved to Nottingham, for sure. And yeah, you DJ under Sisters of Sound and
Yep,
the Ladybirds on City Beat.
yep.
Anything else? Am I missing?
Yeah, I DJ with Chris as
Oh yeah.
some stories. Then I occasionally still do stuff for the Selector Disc lads. So if we
Oh
do
yeah.
anything for them, that's Selector Disco. And then if I do it myself, it's Starstruck. So I've
Oh,
got a
I
one.
didn't even know that. That's very unprofessional of me, isn't it?
No, you're all right. I'm
Yeah.
not very professional anyway.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I just thought it'd be good to get you on and talk to you a bit about, your relationship with music and how you got into DJing and stuff. So let's start at the beginning. What got you interested in music in the first place? What was your introduction to it?
My introduction probably was my mum, my dad, my brothers, and my sister. My mum was Scottish. My dad used to play the piano at various venues and things. So he was into anything to do with pianos. My mum, anything to do with Scottish music. And so that was probably the early things I was listening to. And then my brother and sister were both a lot older than me. They were both into the same music, but it was that brother sister thing. They had the same records, but they didn't share. So when I got a bit older and was allowed to put records on, discovered my brother's and my sister's records. So there were a right variety, a lot of Motown, a lot of soul, lots of things like The Who and the Beatles and things like that. So that was my early stages of it. And then when I went to secondary school, I got to know a guy called Mankey, Steve Mank, who was my best mate for God knows how many years. And through him, went through a bit of a shawadi wadi phase. And
Oh, nice.
anything he got into, he'd let me listen to it. And, somehow I became involved. But we went to the Darfield Youth Club, and they're one of the guys who used to run it, used to play Northern Soul once a month for the disco, and it got us both into that.
What kind of age were you when you were going to that?
That would have been probably about 12 or 13. And at school, I went round with two girls called Leslie and Teresa. Mankey had let them listen to the music as well. They liked it. And we all wanted to go to one of these all-nighters because we'd heard about them. We heard there was one in Sheffield. And we were all going to go. And then at the last minute, Mankey decided no, he wasn't. So it was just me, Leslie and Teresa, and we'd lied about where we were going to be. Leslie's folks were away for the weekend, so we'd all pretended we were stopping at theirs. And off we went to Samantha's all-nighter. And to this day, I'd say I've never been as scared in all my life because I looked so young. And Leslie and Teresa had glammed up, and I was never really one for doing a lot of that. So I thought, I'm just not going to get in. And there were some guys in front of us. For Samantha's, you had to go up, it was above the ice arena in Sheffield, and you had to go up all these flights of stairs. And there were some guys in front of us, and turns out they were all from Hucknall. And one of them were a fireman, and he was saying, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm underage. I'm not going to get in." And he was like, "No, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it." And he got on about being a fireman and things. And then next thing I knew, I'd asked about, I says, "Oh, do you do fireman's lifts?" And laughed. And next thing he'd picked me up and put him on me over his shoulder. And we were at the door to go in. And the door opened and he carried me in. And they were playing a record called 70 Day Lover, and to this day I still love that track because it's just such a memory. You know, you couldn't write that something like that were going to happen. And we had one of the best nights I've ever had in my life, just on the adrenaline alone. And in Samantha's, because it was on a, you know, an upper floor, the floor was sprung and it used to bounce and people would be doing all the clapping and it was just phenomenal. I'd never, well, it was just mind-blowing, and that's what got me into all my Northern Soul.
So was
And
that
then,
that was the first time you heard kind of, you know, music that you didn't, you know, you hadn't experienced before, out and hearing DJs play it and stuff?
yeah, well, I suppose there was DJs, and I mean, I were a bit early, you know, a bit young then, but there would have been DJs at nightclubs. But I would imagine they were playing just, well, in Barnsley we had one nightclub called Records, and it was just your normal run of the mill, anything that you'd hear on the radio. But then if you went to Sheffield and went to the Lead Mill, you got all like your well, that's where I first discovered, oh, go on, Heaven 17 and everything.
All right, yeah.
You know, eventually started doing my hair. He looked a lot like, oh God, what was the guy called? He was from Sheffield and he had uneven hair.
Doesn't narrow it down much.
Oh, we'll play these games a lot.
No doubt.
You do. They were really famous and they reformed and they'd got girls in the band. It was round about the time of Heaven 17. I can't remember.
Not Cabaret Voltaire. Were they from Sheffield?
No, they were though, but no, at least I think they were, but no, it weren't them. The song "Don't You Want Me, Baby."
Oh, Human League.
Yes, that's the one. And Simon had his hair like that, and until he started doing my hair in Barnsley, I didn't know who he was. But you know, it was playing all this stuff that you just wouldn't have heard at any of the normal clubs and things. But yeah, I presume there were DJs around, but I got into Northern Soul and was into it for quite a long time, and it was like a tunnel vision. I didn't realize anything else that were happening out there because all I lived and breathed were Northern Soul 7 days a week.
So were you kind of were you hooked on it from the first kind of night, and that was it for you?
Yeah, big style. It was just the dancing, and men and women could get up and dance on their own because back then, you know, like I always remember in Newcastle, I went up to see my brother and went to the local club and a record came on that I liked and I got up dancing and my brother got up and he was like, "Will you sit down? Nobody dances on their own. You're an idiot." And I'm like, "No, I'm not sitting down. I like this record. It's you." I says, "This is like what it's like in like your little villages." And he was like, "Well, I'm going to have to dance with you." And I says, "Well, dance then." And he was like, "Oh my God." And it was a total different experience. Like at Northern Soul, you could go along and it weren't going about. I mean, people did meet each, you know, the partners and things like that, but it was about the music. And if you got to know someone and ended up going out with somebody, all fair and good, you know, that was an added bonus. But it was just a big thing about the music and being able to dance because everybody just got up and danced by, you know, sort of you'd go in and it'd be quietish on the dance floor, but by, you know, sort of an hour of it opening, it would just be rammed and you'd be fighting for space because everybody just wanted to get up and they'd be dancing on carpets and all over the place. It was just phenomenal. I've never experienced it like it.
When you first started going, you said you were quite young. Was the crowd sort of quite a lot older than you when you first started going there, and did it feel kind of weird being younger? You know, were you treated differently or?
It didn't at Samantha's. Never had a problem there. They just, you know, you were young and they appreciated you were the next generation and things. You know, they'd help, they'd sort of take you under the wing. But the first time I went to Wigan Casino, that was a total different ball game. We got there, and the floor was rammed when we eventually got in. But at the front, near the stage, there was quite a lot of spaces and things, and we didn't know there was this hierarchy thing that if you was one of the dancers, you had that space at the front of the stage and you were allowed to get up and, you know, express yourself. And we got up and we just got battered from pillar to post until eventually we came to the floor. And then when we went into the toilets, the girls were just horrendous with you. And that's then somebody from Barnsley who was older than us came and explained about it. And you're like, oh my God. So Wigan, my first experience weren't good, and the second experience weren't much better. I can appreciate Wigan was the place where all the main DJs were, so that's where all the main records got played and got, you know, first heard and everything. So it was, I can appreciate everything about it. But as for the friendliness, I didn't find that at Wigan at all. Whereas I went to other places, Cleethorpes, went to Wakefield Unity Hall, went to a place in Bradford, travelled to all sorts of places and never had anything like what Wigan was. It might have been different if I went having known a bit more about Northern Soul as to what to expect. But yeah, it was. I didn't find it over friendly.
Yeah.
Thing.
When did you start becoming aware of sort of DJing and taking an interest in that? Was that like a natural thing or something that you pushed into?
That was a fluke. James Bailey opened the Social and knew James, and so one drunken night we'd got on about doing Selector Disco and having different staff from the shop do a Friday night, and it was like, yeah, this will be cool, you know. So we started doing it, and he knew I were into Northern Soul, he knew I were into soul and funk, and he knew I'd got a reasonable collection. So he says, why don't you do it? And it was like, oh God. So Gary X-Ray, his then partner, Natalie, she was from Amsterdam and she was into the same things as I was. So we joined forces and did it, but I was so wrecked when I did it, and it was just a blur. I loved it. It were really, and that's when, well, you know, we sort of went on a bit of a rotation, and then the lads at the shop, once they found out, you know, they could do a couple of hours and things, everybody got on board. But basically they were looking for a certain type of music in a way. When we put people on who was into metal, you know, maybe his garage, because people didn't get up and dance, that wasn't what they were trying to generate upstairs, you know. But for us, it was music that people liked. But yeah, that's how I ended up doing that. And then unfortunately, that's how I felt.
Well, I'm glad that got you into it. You know, it's not something that's been a long-term aspiration of yours. It's something that kind of just came around.
I didn't work in the shop. I did accounts. So, but you know, I went round with the lads, and I always remember it was back in the days when we had the Bridlesmithgate shop. There was people like Stuart, who, you know, is now Tinder Sticks, and Neil Fraser and everybody, and there was Charles Webster and stuff, and they all used to enter this quiz, and we turned up this night and we're en masse, and so we had to split up into teams of 3, and there were me, Charles, and I can't remember who the other person was. And Charles was like, oh, wicked, we've got somebody from Selected Disc. And I says, Charles, I do accounts. And he was like, no, I spent most of the night going to the bar, and it drove him nuts because he thought, wicked, you know, we've got someone who's got knowledge of stuff that's and everything. And obviously, I didn't.
I'm sure you knew some stuff about music. I'm sure if there was a Northern Soul round, you would have smashed it.
Yeah. I mean, there were bits and bobs that I knew, but I think Charles is very competitive, and you know, I think he was expecting, I can't remember who the other person was who we had in the team, but I think he was thinking, well, the three of us together, we've got it nailed, because, you know, we'll be able to
Yeah.
and weren't going to be the case. But I'm very good at going to the bar.
Oh, that's good. That's an important skill to have. You mentioned Selector Disc. I guess bringing it back to Nottingham a bit, because obviously anyone who listens to your accent will probably be able to tell that you're not from Nottingham. So what brought you to Nottingham in the first place? When did you move here? Why?
Oh, it's love. Can't you see this? Well, I thought it was love at the time, but yeah, it was a bloke who met, and he was into Northern Soul, and I mean, Selector Disc, I didn't realise until I'd been working there for some time. And in my office, we were moving things around, and there was these framed singles, and it was a Black Magic label, which I knew from the Northern days. And I went, oh, I love this label. And Brian says, oh, Ron did that. And that was his mate, Ron Atkinson, who was a graphic designer. And I was like, oh, I says, I used to go out with this lad, and he did a great big version of it to put up in my bedroom. I says, it were amazing. And he was like, oh, do you like Northern Soul then? And I says, yeah. And he says, oh, that's where I started. Because Brian started on a stall in Mansfield, and it were all, you know, it were a mixed bag of things. But then he realised Northern Soul was something that people were wanting and they couldn't get hold of. And he started doing a whole load of Northern Soul. And he had his own record label. And I mean, I think it was Papa Ru Mau Mau got to about number 2 in the singles charts, you know, so it got real good recognition. But I didn't realise, you know, when I went to work there, that Brian even had any connection with Northern Soul. I kept really quiet about being into it, because the lads, they were all into indie and, you know, all new stuff that were coming out on metal or garage, and really unusual stuff. And obviously, having been in a tunnel of Northern Soul for a long time, I did know bits and bobs, but you know, there were a lot I'd missed out on until I came to Selector Disc, and then you soon picked up on things. And I mean, there's still different bands and records that I associate when different people worked in the space nearest my office and they were playing certain things. Then that's the music that I associate them with. I mean, Janet will always be the wedding present to me, and Tracy will always be Iggy Pop. Gary got me into, I mean, he got me into garage, all the garage stuff, and but equally he got me into REM. I can always remember him playing the Green album. I think it's called the Green album, and it was like, whoa, running up to see what it was, and he was like, oh yeah, you need to listen to these, Sue, and it was like, wow, great. And the lads were brilliant. You know, they'd say, I think you should come to this gig because I think you're going to like them, and you'd go along. I mean, Joey was class at it. He got me into Caribou and stuff, and I mean, Luca got me into Ad N2X, is it? I think they were called. And I mean, we just had some brilliant times at going to gigs and discovering new music, and yeah, it was just phenomenal.
Having all those influences around you must have been, yeah, really, really nice. I mean, anyone who's worked in a record shop knows that that's the place to be. That's where it's at. It's funny that you mentioned that Black Magic label as well, because I didn't know about the link to Selector Disc until recently either. Someone told me about that. One of my friends, who's Edwin Soul Bad Boy Edwin, he's a Northern Soul DJ in Nottingham. You should meet him if you don't know him. Actually, you two would get on. But he told me about that label being linked to Selector Disc, which I knew it before that, and yeah, there you go, bit of Nottingham history that I didn't know about.
Label, absolutely amazing. And Ron Atkinson, I mean, sadly, both him and Brian have passed away. But Ron, I mean, there was a club in Derby called the Blue Note, and he did the whole interior for it. As did he for the garage when Brian first took on the garage. Ron was responsible for all the decor in all the shops and how they looked and everything. It was absolutely brilliant. hard work with the lighting sometimes, because we had really high ceilings, and he generally picked things that needed bulbs that you couldn't touch by hand, and you'd got to go up ladders to try and do it and stuff. But yeah, his design work, and they were like the Brat Pack of Nottingham in a way, because they were linked to Paul Smith and Janet, who had the Birdcage, and then Chris, who took on the Birdcage from her. They were all like a little, and Jeff from Talking House. They were a little group that all hung around together, and I used to always liken them to the Brat Pack of Nottingham. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
influence, and they'd got a lot of knowledge, and they were just great guys, you know. So I'm sure there's things like that. Well, there is things like that happening in Nottingham now. I mean, when you look at places like for us, you know, like the Carousel, you've got such a nice team there that's got so much knowledge and have got so much creativity, you know. I can really see something like that going far, and like with Trish and Ian and what they're putting together. I don't know what they're calling the space, but it's
Fishergate Point.
It's called
Fishergate Point is the name of it.
Right.
That's just the name of the building originally.
Yeah. So, you know, we're part of that, and that's like a music thing, which once things are back up and running again, I can see that being phenomenal. There's going to be some great,
it'd be really cool. There's definitely still good stuff happening in Nottingham, yeah. But yeah, how did you end up sort of working at Selectedist then? Was that just through knowing people involved in music and stuff? What sort of years were you doing that?
Well, I started in I think it was 1983, early 83. I used to hang around with the guys at the Birdcage, and went to see them one day, and as I walked past Selectedist on Bridlesmith Gate, there was a sign saying accountant bookkeeper required, please pop in. So I did, and I saw Jeff Linney, was the manager, and he said, oh, you'll need to see Brian. So he made an appointment, so I turned up. Brian didn't turn up. They made their excuses, made another appointment, turned up. Brian didn't turn up, and I thought, oh God, this is absolutely crazy. And Mick had said to me, it'd be a nice place to work, because I was working part-time for TXR and X and Careline, which was linked to Radio Trent and Radio Nottingham, and we used to do broadcasts about all different, well, Careline, we did things on a daily basis about things that were happening in and around Nottingham. TXRX would do a project each week. And Mick says, you know, it'd be nice, you'd have another little part-time job, it'd keep you busy, it'd be a good place to work. So I says, right, I'll go back one more time, and if he doesn't turn up, that's it. So I turned up, and he weren't there, and I was about set for going in. He came running in and apologised. He'd been for a coffee with Jeff and Ron, which I found out was a regular thing. But I knew where to find him once I was working for him.
That's true.
And we sat for probably about 2.5 hours. We didn't speak about accounts at all. We just spoke about things that I were into, people I knew, and people he knew, things he was into. And he said, you know, I'll be in touch. So off I went. And it was about 7 o'clock, 2 weeks later, and I get this phone call. And Brian said, so what happened? Why haven't you been in? Are you not taking the job? And I says, well, you haven't phoned me to confirm. And he says, well, of course you've got the job. He says, I've been waiting on you coming in. And that's how it all started. And it was a wacky experience. I mean, yes, I did the accounts, but you sort of helped look after Brian a bit, because he'd forget about stuff, and you know, you'd have a point at the time when I took on doing Selectedist accounts, I sorted them out because nobody had been doing them for a while, and then I took over doing the garage accounts. And Brian also, at the time, he had this amazing cafe bar called Zuckerman's, which is now what is Cow. And it was way ahead of its time, but he planned on taking it on as a place where people could go before they went to the garage, have a drink, have a bite to eat. But it would, I mean, if it was around now, it would be one of the places to go at the interior and everything. Because again, Ron did it. It was absolutely amazing, but it was just too much ahead of its time. So sadly, that closed, and we're left with the garage, and we're left with Selector Disc. And then Brian had always wanted to open somewhere in Nottingham, in London, and the opportunity came up, and we opened the London shop, and that was just crazy bonkers. We knew it'd take off, but we didn't expect it to go how it did. It was just phenomenal. And also the Nottingham shops were just going from strength to strength, you know, so it was just absolutely brilliant.
Was there competition with other record shops at that time? What other shops were around, and was it, you know, what else was going on?
Yeah, there were other shops around. I've got a feeling Nick Part-Time Punk, I've got a feeling, worked for one of them. It was, I can't remember the name of it. It worked, it was on, I think it would be called Plumber Street, and Our Price, I think it was called.
All right, okay, yeah.
You know, they did some really good deals and stuff. I mean, at the time, HMV gave us a run for his money, you know, because there was stock in all sorts of things, and they got the power to be able to, I mean, buy in massive amounts. You know, we could buy a reasonable amount, but they could buy loads, you know, and you got things on sale or return. And yeah, the guy, I mean, we were really lucky as well. The lads who we had working for us had got such a good knowledge. We didn't, you know, for things just went. You were struggling to keep on top, stocking things up. You know, it was just so busy. On a Saturday, you'd go in and the shop would just, well, all the shops would just be rammed. And people queuing at the counters, people trying to get to the racks to look through them. It's, well, now when you see it, it's good that things are still going, but it's not the experience you would have got back in the 80s and 90s.
No, it doesn't sound like it. I'm a bit jealous hearing some of this stuff because, you know, obviously there was music emerging that was just so exciting around those times.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously records were the main format. People were out digging for records a lot more than they are now. And yeah, was what about Rob's? Was Rob's around at that point?
Yeah, he was definitely, and he was going, yeah, from strength to strength. His shops have always been how they are.
Yeah.
And he's always known where his stock is, even though nobody else does. But yeah, he's always run it like that. You know, his car's exactly the same. If you were to see his car, it's just piled high with all stock that he's not a chance to get into the shop yet.
I have heard that, yeah, and his house apparently.
Yeah, well, he's just got loads and loads, you know, but yeah, and through Brian having, I mean, you must have you heard the story about the Clash? They were busking in Nottingham, and Phil, who now owns Sister Ray, he was going from the Bridlesmith Gate shop to the Market Street shop, and he spotted the Clash playing, you know, so the staff all took time out to go and like have listened to them busking. And they got talking to them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we'd like to come along to the garage." So they came down to the garage that night, you know, and there were loads of things like that, like Frank Sidebottom. He never came to Nottingham without his head on or without coming in to see Jim at number 21, you know. They just had such good rapport. Billy Bragg, you know, he was just a big fan of the shop. So we had the same thing happening in London as well, so it was fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like, what got you into, you know, when you were working for Selector Disc, were you out buying records, or were you just getting everything from Selector Disc? Was it a time where you kind of picked up a lot of music, or?
Just got it from Select. There weren't a need to go anywhere else.
No.
If they weren't stocking it and there was something you wanted, you'd mention it and they'd get you a copy in, and if they liked it, then they ordered loads. You know, we had different drinking haunts, like Bridal Smithgate. There was a place called the Fountain, and there was the Hippo, so we used to go to them, and we used to all go to JC's. Not sure where number 21 staff went. It weren't until Tracy started working at the shop, and somehow the Market Street lot started coming down to JC's. But the bars that we drank in had got really good knowledge of music as well. So you'd go in and they'd maybe be playing something and you'd be like, oh, I have to get this in stock, you know. And a classic one, they were called Nouvelle Vague, and they did cover versions of stuff. And at the time, we were all drinking at the Peacock, and we'd gone in, and Michael had got this record on, and it was like, wow, this is great. So went back into the shop, you know, the next day and said, can you get me a copy of this? And they got me a copy. Somebody else came in asking for it. Somebody else came in, and it was just a big seller eventually, you know, but it would just, you know, people who you'd got to know as well who also helped the shop. It was phenomenal how it all worked.
So between kind of then and now, because obviously I've known you for a few years, but what's been your kind of trajectory with, you know, obviously knowing you now, you play out quite a few places. Have you always kind of kept it up, you know, over the years? Or
no, I played for James at the social, and then it wasn't until Selector Disc. Oh no, the next place I played before Bradley, the Jam Cafe, it was a guy called Chris. And my mate had come from Sheffield one night, and it was absolutely teeming it down with rain, and we could hear some music, so we just ran in the direction. And we ended up in the Jam Cafe, and there was the DJ, who was Dave, there was Chris and there was Bradley working the bar, and there were me and Carl and a couple of others, and we had a wicked night. And I got talking to Dave, and he says, why don't you join me on Shake and Bake? So I did. And then through that, I had a word with Chris about doing Sounds of the Unexpected or Selector Disco and bringing the lads in from, you know, Selector Discs. We did. And so we used to play down there. And then the social was having, I think it was the 10th anniversary. And they got in touch with me to say, could you get some DJs together, because you guys had played there at the beginning. I think Martin had told them, you know. And I says, yeah, no problem. And I weren't going to play, but I ended up playing with Ricky G, Paul Wayne, and I think Basil probably played as well. There were only, you know, 4 of us. And I went on to start because I says, it's early, I'll get it out of the way, and if I'm going to kill it, people here, you know, so we're going to be all right. And it was Danielle Sorby came running out of the office because I was playing Northern Soul, and she says, oh my God, we've been looking for a Northern Soul DJ, will you play? And I says, I don't know. And she says, oh, please. She says, you don't have to do it monthly. Just do it when, you know, just do it occasionally if you fancy. Anyway, I were in 2 minds. Selector Disc had closed by this point, and they were in 2 minds whether I should do it. Paul Wayne couldn't believe it, because, I mean, he's a well-known DJ, you know, and he was like, I don't believe it, they want you to play. They hadn't even asked me. And we're I mean, you know, we're just messing, but he just found it hilarious, because he'd always said I'd kill his career, which I suppose in a way I did, and he don't play anymore. But it were Chris, and I were on about it to him, and he says, just do it. He says, you know, if you're not going to do it, somebody else is, you may as well. And I was looking to get an all girls DJing, you know, because I knew 1 or 2 lasses who played. So I wanted to put together something with all girls, but I didn't know how to get in touch with these lasses, and I mentioned it to Bradley, so he put me in touch with Sonia. Sonia got in touch, we met up, and I'd actually wanted to call it Ladybirds because I'd got the name, but then Sonia came up with Sisters of Sound, and I thought, yeah, I like it, let's do it. So we started doing it once a month, And at the time we had, I don't know if you know Tara, who used to work at Music Exchange.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah, she used to play with us occasionally. Freya used to play occasionally. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, I don't know if, well, I don't know if she still plays, but there was also Anna, who's Cherry Bomb, I think she goes under a DJ name,
All
and
right.
she's from Portugal. She goes out with Tiago. Well, she's married to Tiago, um, who's in various bands and things. And we just used to alternate, and then slowly it just dwindled out, and it became me and Sonia. And then the Angel was reopening, so I went in and saw, is it Stephen Wilson who works with us on the station?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I phoned up and they put me in touch with Steve, and I went in and saw him, and he says, yeah, do it. So we got a little slot at the Angel as well. And then, it's been good. And then they were looking for more DJs at the Bodega, and I knew Chris quite fancied playing, and I wanted to do something because with Sonia we play a real mixed bag, and I was missing playing soul and funk and things that I knew more about. So I mentioned it to Chris, and like for him to do the hip hop side of things, because I'd always took the piss out of hip hop. When I worked at the pop, I used to take the piss out of it. And it weren't until there were a program on Radio 6 about, I think it was 40 years of hip hop, and they were playing these records, and I thought, well, I've got that, but I've got that under funk, or I've got that under jazz, or I've got, I'd got them under different genres. And it was like, God, I never realised this was hip hop. And I'd started getting into a few bits and bobs, but I didn't know enough about it. And Chris does, his knowledge of it's fantastic. So got him, on board, and that's when we started doing So Six Stories. And again, just loving it. I mean, I would like to do that a bit more, but Chris is obviously doing his own music.
Yeah,
So
Giant Head.
yeah, and time's precious to him, so to get him, because there has been one or two things I've been offered, and I thought if it were just a one-off, fair dues, but for a regular thing to be taking up another weekend of his time, it's not
Yeah.
real. And also on my time as well now, because I'm sort of doing 3 weekends regularly now, or fairly regularly. So it's a big commitment to be doing in a way, when you want to see your mates and things as well,
It is, and it takes time, packing the bag and all of that kind of stuff. It
Yeah,
ends up eating into your whole weekend. But having said that, right now, obviously really missing DJ and not being able to go out and about now. So it's
yeah,
it's a tough one, isn't it? But
yeah.
how does it compare? Playing at, obviously you've played at Bodega as social for years.
Yeah.
What's the kind of vibe now like? How does it, when you do the nights with like Chris or whatever, what sort of audience do you get? How do you feel about
Well,
playing to?
the audience we've got downstairs, it's a different audience to upstairs, which is where, when I first started playing for Martin, I was playing, because upstairs, it's where people go to dance, so you're playing music that's going to get people on the dance floor. Whereas downstairs, till about 11 o'clock, before the upstairs opens, you're wanting to play things that's really lively, that's wanting to get people in the mood for getting up. But
Yeah,
then by the time it's got to like 12, you're looking playing things that's going to keep people downstairs, that they can sit and just chill and enjoy a drink, and then if they want to eventually go back upstairs. There's a lot of good things going to be happening with the Bodega. I can't say a deal about it, but yeah, we're
some
privy to,
secrets.
some things that's going to be happening. It's going to make it an even better venue. It is going to be really, really good.
That's
So
good
I'm
to
just
hear.
hoping all these things get lifted soon, and they can crack on with it, type of thing. Because and I hope that they'll still want me to be part of it. Because I appreciate times move on and I'm getting older, and I do still keep in touch with a lot of things. But when I hear a lot of the DJs that's out there, or people, I go around to people's houses and music that they're playing, and I think, God, what? How did they let me loose? I mean, my brother always says that anyway, because there's just so
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
you know what I mean?
No,
I
not
just,
having any of that. So
I think I'm very, very privileged to being allowed to do what I've done. I mean,
I think
I
the
did a
people are privileged to hear it.
supper club for a while because I like cooking and things, and I used to do a theme meal, and it used to be 20 people. It used to be at the Peacock, and so I'd pick Italian, German, you know, whatever, and the music could go accordingly, and it was 5 courses. And it was all vegetarian. And when I told my brother about it, he says, "Have you took out insurance?" And I'm like, "Why?" And he said, "What if you kill everybody?" And I was like, "Oh my God."
Stick to
um,
DJing, is that what you're saying?
no, he wouldn't even say that neither. When I go up to Newcastle, occasionally I'll take stuff up with you. Well, if I drive up, I'll have things in the car and I'll take it into the house and I'll play it. And he's like, "Oh my God, they can't let you play music. It isn't, you know, he just don't get it at all." But
Well, I think a lot of the people that have heard you play would, yeah,
thank
say you
you.
got a load of good music.
Well, Chris Baldwin wouldn't.
I think deep down, he knows you have. But I know you two have, let's call it a friendly rivalry going on, don't you? On that note, actually, you know, talking about DJing and stuff, do you ever think about, you know, what sort of DJ you are, or what you think of, you know, what you think makes a good DJ?
I don't class myself as a DJ. I class myself as someone who plays music because I can't mix or anything. You know, I just plonk my records on. I sort of be able to figure out this follows nicely with that. You know what I mean? So I
That's all
sometimes
that's required.
I would sometimes do fancy doing the mixing thing, but I don't get how it works at all. People have explained bits and bobs, and it's like, what? You know, so I don't know if I'd get it, but I think eventually I will have a go at it just to see what it is all about, you know. But I just think something that helped me when I was playing it was one night at the Jam Caf, and Pete Beckett was there, and he used to DJ at the garage, and he was going through my records, and he was like, "Why aren't you playing this?" And I says, "I doubt people would know it in here." And he says, "But it don't matter whether they do or they don't." He says, "Yeah, you've got to play a few things that people know, but equally, you're here to sort of try and get them to know new stuff. And if you feel confident in that record, then put it on." And after he said that, it made a hell of a difference. I didn't play. I do play for the people that's there, but equally, if there's something that I love, no matter if they think it's a bag of shit, I'm going to put it on because I just think there might be one person out there who just thinks, "Wow, something that is called James Blake, I think he's called, and he did a record called "There's a Limit to Your Love,"
Oh
and
yeah, I know that. Yeah.
and it's been covered by various people, and there's good versions. And it's a very slow version. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. And at work, they won't let me have Radio 6 on because if they do, I always get half an hour. And then it's like, "Oh my God, what's this noise?" And James Blake were getting played, and it was like, "Oh my God, I've got to get this record." And one of the lasses were like, "This? Oh God, no, absolutely shit, you know." And it got played. It just so happened, if ever they let me have Radio 6 on, that got played, and it used to get switched off straight away. And I think it went on to win awards and stuff. It's just such a beautiful record. And I know we all like different things, and there's things that I think, "Oh my God." But, you know, I like doing when I did Sounds of the Unexpected, I really liked it because with that, you could play something that's somebody new, but equally things that people didn't know at all, and that's what people were coming along for. You could play the most wackiest things. I mean, I used to sometimes put on the Alexander Brothers, which is this Scottish Highland music that my mum loved, and it's amazing how many people used to get up dancing to it, because it's just got that, I don't know, it just makes you feel good.
You ever stuck on Donald Where's Your Trousers?
Pardon?
You ever stuck on Donald Where's Your Trousers?
Oh yeah, I've got a wicked version of that. I've got this version where it starts off as it starts getting sung, but then Andy Stewart goes into a like a really swing version of it, and then it drops down. I should
have to
play
hear
it.
that. I'm a big fan of that tune. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's things like oh, what's it called? Fernando's Hideaway and everything. You know, you put it on and it's amazing how many people react to it. Yeah, there's people who probably walk out, but equally there's people who just start getting up and doing daft dancing, and it just makes you feel good, you know. So yeah,
part of the fun, isn't it? And you've got to take that risk sometimes. It's not about keeping everyone interested, you know, just doing it for the people that might be, or you know, might not be.
And sometimes just plonking something. I mean, Sonia often says, you know, like we'll be playing along in whatever we're playing, you know, and we work really well. We'll play different genres, but and we tend to do we'll play 3 and 3, you know, and I can have been playing 2 funk sounds and then I might change to something indie, and then Sonia might put something on metal or punk, you know, we just play a real random. But I do, you know, like things like Fernando's Hideaway and all this sort of stuff. And there's something, Donna Hathaway, I can't think what it's called now, but when I first put that on, she was like, what? Because it just would like, it didn't fit in with anything.
Yeah.
But in a way, to me, it gets people listen, you know what I mean? They might have just been sat there thinking, and then it's like, what? You know, and it's either going to be love or hate, but it gets them back into zoning into what's being played, because it's just something that you're not going to expect, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of different opinions on that. I'm with you, to be honest. A lot of people go for kind of seamless, you know, transitions between stuff. I don't mind just going opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I will play where it all blends in, but then I think it gets too samey.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's good to kind of surprise people sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what makes a good DJ. I mean, I love listening to Craig Charles. He played, you know, and I get a lot of things that I think, wow. Caris Matthews on a Sunday morning, she plays some really wacky outside things, and I end up buying them because it's like, and I don't know if I'm ever going to play them out, but I do play them in, and I do really like them, you know. As does oh, what's his name out of Fine Young Cannibal? Was he in that? Huey somebody or other. He plays on a Saturday afternoon on radio. And he plays a good bit of hip hop, but he plays a real mixture of all sorts of stuff. And
yeah, I've listened to his show.
Yeah, I love, you know, picking up. But equally, I mean, we haven't got him doing a radio show yet. His name's Dan Hancock, and he's a friend of Ajax who needs to get his finger out and get on that radio station.
It'll happen one day.
But Dan, he'd done a Mixcloud thing the other day, and I put it on, and there was stuff I'd not heard in a long time, but equally there was stuff it was like, wow, what is this? I wish he was speaking so I could find out what it is. Do you know what I mean? Because he's got stuff, yeah. Well, he's just doing his own stuff on Mixcloud, but I had hoped Ajax was hoping once he starts, he's going to get different people on with him. And Dan was going to be one of them, because I think Dan's got a lot of commitments and things. So whether or not he'd be able to do a show, I don't know, but could ask him for you, because he has got some absolutely amazing records. Joey Bell, whenever it was his birthday, always had him play. I'd never met him before until Joey's birthdays. and it were like, wow, the stuff he's playing is phenomenal, you know, really, really good.
Oh,
So
that's
he,
cool.
you one for City Beat, you never know.
Noted. Noted. You're always sending people my way.
Well, there's loads that I've got, but I'm just thinking,
Well,
I've got the space.
you know everyone's do, so I've got no doubt that's not going to stop anytime soon, and I appreciate it. It's good. I think we might have to wrap it up now anyway, because we could talk about this all night. But I've got to make my dinner,
Yeah.
and
Oh, God.
I've taken over the living room for this. Molly's been banished to the bedroom, so
Oh, dear.
probably needs letting out in a minute.
Oh,
So
dear. Oh, dear.
yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Anyway, it's been a while since we caught up, so it's been nice chatting.
Yeah, I must admit I was a bit worried. I thought, oh my God, what am I doing?
Not scary, though, is
But yeah,
it?
really enjoyed it. Oh, you're not scary, but it's just,
I haven't put you on the spot too much.
yes, I'd like that. That would be cool. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah. And looking
Cool.
forward to hearing everybody else's stories.
Yeah, feel free to send me some people if you think there's anyone that I need to speak to. Just send them my way.
Yeah. Okay.
Doing more of them. Cool. All right, Sue.
Something, because I used to, oh, I'll just finish on this one. I used to do the maze. I used to put on with my friend Carl. We used to put on variety nights. So we'd have burlesque, we'd have firefights, fire eaters, we'd have plate spinners, you name it. We had them, and it was, you know, it was just a real variety of all different things. And Carl I've known for years, and there's always stories that I come out with, and he's like, I can't believe you never told me this before, you know. And one of the things we were always going to do was we were going to have it were going to be at Sheffield at time is it called Timelines that they do?
Timelines, yeah.
Timelines, yeah. We're going to be at the festival, and it was going to be, you went in for tea and cakes, and you sat down with me, and from the, you know, like there'd be a listing, and it'd be, I don't know, this whatever, you know, it'd be something, and whatever it was, you'd get a certain tea and a certain cake with it, but you'd get me sitting and telling your story throughout it.
That would last indefinitely.
And I still want to do it.
Festival would be over there, be like, Sue, why are you still talking? Why are you still telling us stories?
Well, people always ask that.
Not that they're not enjoyable anyway.
No, well, there are people who would disagree with that one. And
well,
you know, one of them, one of my rivals, shall we say, is.
I've got a feeling I know who that might be, yeah.
Yeah. He'll obviously not be listening to this because he hates my voice.
Well, yeah. I'll send it to him anyway, just out of courtesy. Just to annoy him that little bit more, eh?
Oh, I annoyed him the other day, I think. I could even tell in the text message. But he said I didn't, so I'll take him at his word.
I'm sure you're still finding ways to annoy each other without being DJ partners anyway.
He doesn't annoy me. I just find him funny. But he just seems to want to kill me. I don't know why.
I'm sure it's, yeah. I'm sure he loves you, really. If he doesn't, he needs to find a new DJ partner.
Could be you, Nick.
Oh, God, no. What if I don't like you in the end? Turns out, you know, resenting all your stories like Chris. But no, hopefully hear you again on the deck soon. You need to get back out there as soon as all this nonsense over, eh?
Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Right. Get
good chatting to you, Sue.
With my tambourine, I am going to be tambourining out my window tonight for the NHS.
Oh yeah, yeah. Likewise.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Sue. Well, good chatting to you. I'll catch you up with you soon.
Looking forward to the lemon sherbets you've got on tap for me.
Definitely. There's a shortage at the moment, but I'll do my best.
Right then, I shall leave you in peace.
Sue.
Yeah. Take care. Yeah. Bye. Bye.
See ya.